Welcome to Faith for the Apocalypse. My name is Nick, and this channel is a place for us to talk about faith, politics, and whatever else we want, which will probably be a lot of history and science fiction. I am so glad that you are here with me. This channel is something that I've been kind of percolating on and thinking about for a long time. But as the world is kind of getting a little more stressful and a little more uncertain, I thought that 2025 was the year that I wanted to jump in and start to release more of my content. I'm launching this channel alongside a daily devotional. So if that's something you're into, you can check out the description below for more information about the devotional and information about how you can sign up in order to get weekly or daily emails with devotionals that will kind of help equip you for the world ahead. But as we kind of start to dig in here, I want to start off with talking about kind of my flashy title that I'm talking about, as I started with here, Faith for the Apocalypse. Now, I shared that title with a good friend of mine, and she said, "Ooh, that title is exciting, but it also kind of fills me with a sense of dread." And I think that's kind of appropriate for what's going on in the world around us right now. Like, I know I'm not the only person to kind of feel like we're living through the end of something. And the reality is that we are. We are living in a moment of kind of extreme political polarization. We're living at the end of some of our systems and structures that, while we've been alive, are things that we have depended on. We are living through a time where a lot of things are ending. Our economic systems are drastically shifting. Our political systems are drastically shifting. Our planet and environment is drastically shifting. And it can often feel like it's the end of the world or an apocalypse. I absolutely love apocalyptic literature and storytelling, right? Now, I know when I say the word apocalypse, there's going to be a certain number of you, especially maybe some of you who are also of my generation and from the Bible Belt, who are automatically going to think about the book of Revelation and the end times that were said to come. Right? There was this fiction series, I'm sure you've heard of it, called Left Behind, that kind of fictionalize what would happen when the book of Revelation came to pass and all of these things happened, and you were either, taken up to be with God or left in the hell that was left below of the earth. The idea of the apocalypse was really tied to a particular religious and theological perspective, but I kind of want to challenge that a little bit. Now, later on in this channel, we're going to have a whole bunch of videos looking at the book of Revelation and what it does or it doesn't say. But for today, I want to focus kind of on this word apocalypse. Now, we think of apocalypse as the end of the world, right? That Left Behind series, or maybe even some science fiction where we have zombies as a horde coming and attacking, or aliens coming and ending our way of life. But an apocalypse is not actually meant to talk about a destruction. In fact, the term apocalypse, which comes from Greek, is actually about a revelation or an uncovering or a reorienting. Apocalyptic literature is not necessarily literature about the end of a world that is yet to come exactly as it's written, but apocalyptic literature is rather a way that we are able to interpret moments of catastrophic change or difference or upheaval that we as people survive through. The book of Revelation spoke to a particular group of people who were going through dramatic changes with a lot of oppression, repression, and uncertainty in their future. Throughout our history, we as a people have turned to apocalyptic stories to help guide us in times of great change or uncertainty as well. I think of kind of two of my favorite apocalyptic things to read are Lord of the Rings and Dune, which now more people have heard of because of the amazing movies that can come out. So, both of these stories are apocalyptic stories. They are larger than life, fantastical stories that give us a frame through which we can understand and interpret the world around us. Let's start with looking at Lord of the Rings. Now, Tolkien began dreaming up Middle Earth in 1914 when he was an undergraduate in Oxford. He kind of created this mythology which helped him to talk about his beliefs, his perspectives, his feelings on good and evil. He ended up writing the book in stages between 1937 and 1949. So we are sitting right in the post war, beginning of World War II period. Tolkien was heavily influenced by the chaos and the horror that he experienced as someone who lived through World War I and the reality of horrifying industrial warfare. I also think kind of about the Lord of the Rings movies and how popular they were when I was a young person. And it strikes me that Lord of the Rings also came out not too long after 9/11, at a time where we once again felt like there was this evil darkness that might be sweeping over our land. And it felt as if we maybe didn't have enough power to push back. So, this story of the small hobbit that is able to move forward with his community and make a change, once again, kind of rang out to us in our own moments of chaos. Frank Herbert's Dune, which is published in 1965, is likewise influenced by a time of political, social upheaval and increased military action around the world. Dune is released the very same year as the United States begins to escalate our military engagement in Vietnam. Now, Dune, much like Lord of the Rings, is an apocalyptic story, although one that is maybe colored more by the jaded perspective of its day compared to the optimism that we can find in kind of post World War II America. Dune, rather than being a story about a hero who can save the day from darkness, is more about our tendency to turn towards darkness as humans who interact with systems and structures of power. Dune is now once again gaining popularity. Now, I'm not saying that the director of the new Dune film sat down and said, "Oh, we are entering this moment of strife. I think this story needs to speak to what we are doing." But I do think our context is what kind of brings about a scenario in which this story is able to bring us so much kind of meaning and depth and interpretation as we are living through an age where it feels like the heroes have failed us. A story about the dangers of trusting a leader who works along with the systems that oppress us is one we need, as celebrity has gone kind of unchecked and uncontrolled in all sorts of ways. Even though this month, this quarter, this year might feel more unpredictable and unstable than another time we remember, the reality is our world is a really unstable place. We find comfort in telling ourselves that things will always be the way they have been. And we also kind of lie to ourselves when we think the way things are now are the way we always have been. We have always been dealing with change. We have always been dealing with uncertainty. And for most of human history, we've always had to deal with a lot of danger, a lot of oppression, a lot of violence. Sometimes we tell ourselves that the world has been progressing and we are moving to this kind of destination of logic, of reason, of peace. We are on this trajectory of constant growth, whether that be intellectual or economic. The world doesn't move in that direction. When we look through history, we find the world moves in cycles. There is a time for everything. And right now is a time to revisit, to reflect, and to reorient so that as we move into an increasingly uncertain future, we do so with the certainty that God is with us and that we do not walk alone. As I kind of think about this apocalypse we're living through, this shifting, this changing that I need to interpret, I am reminded of one of my favorite verses in Isaiah 43:19, where God says, "Look, I am doing a new thing. Don't you see it is already beginning?" Faith for the Apocalypse, this devotional, this YouTube channel is a space for us to come together and to try to see what is this new thing that God is doing. How can we prepare ourselves for the world not as it is, but the world as it is becoming? How can we resist forces of temptation towards stagnancy, towards complacency, towards disengagement, in order to become the hands and feet of Jesus in this world that so desperately needs liberation and salvation? So, welcome to Faith for the Apocalypse. This video has been a little bit different than some of the other ones as we will move forward through our devotion and as I kind of develop as a creator and get better with all of this video stuff. But I want to give us kind of a roadmap forward for those of us who are participating in the devotion. So each week on Friday, I will post a video that will look deeply at one specific piece of scripture. That scripture might align with the lectionary, or it might align with some of the kind of things that are happening out in the world around us, or a message that I feel is important to kind of cover at this particular moment in time. That weekly video is meant to kind of give you the grounding and the inspiration to move throughout your week. If you sign up for the emails, along with that video, you will have a 2-page weekly overview, which will give you some grounding and some kind of picture of what the week is going to look like. You'll also have some tasks that are kind of left for you to think of over the week to take care of your soul and to engage in some reflection. I've also created daily devotion printouts. Now, these devotions are kind of trying to mix a need for routine with a need for the new and for difference. So each week, we will kind of rotate through a variety of different devotionals. Some of those will be deep biblical study, some will be reflection on the world around us, some will be spiritual care and self care that is meant to help ready us for the kind of journey ahead. If you're not into the devotionals, that's fine. You are still welcome here in this space. I will be posting 2 videos a week, one tied to that devotion coming out on Friday, and then I will release an additional video on Wednesday that may or may not relate to what's going on in the devotionals or may respond to what's going on in the world around us. At least once a month, I'll have a video that is just for fun. So at the very end of January, to let you know, we are going to be talking about faith, history, and aliens. So make sure to like, subscribe, follow, share this channel with your friends, share the sign up for the devotionals. For now, this is free. I hope to kind of continue to develop my content and grow this channel and might switch to a paid model down the line. If you'd like to support my work and what's going on with this channel, there is also a link for donations in the video description. Donations at this time are 100% going towards getting a camera so that my video and audio can improve. Thank you so much for your support and for joining us here. I can't wait to see the growth that we do together.